My name is Nikita Sachdev, and I will be moderating this panel on how NFTs could be a new way of monetization for brands. Is it a trend or real innovation on IP rights? So a little bit about me. I run LunaPR. We're headquartered out of Dubai, but I'm from Houston, Texas. We have an office in Miami and Singapore. We've worked with over 600 projects. We're an award-winning PR agency. I also run Luna VC. We're a small boutique venture capital. And I'm also, we recently, just yesterday, I'm proud to say that we acquired Cointelegraph Middle East. So we're also big in getting media into the entire Middle East and North Africa region. So that's a little bit about me. Now it's time to introduce our lovely panelists, and I apologize in advance if I butcher some of your names. So I'll also, maybe what I'll do is I'll quickly say your names and your company, and you can tell us a little bit more about what you guys do. So I have Benjamin Agostini, CEO and co-founder of The Safebox. Benjamin, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Safebox, and I'll move on to the next panelist.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Safebox is pretty easy to define. So we are an NFT marketplace dedicated to fine wines. All our NFTs are asset-backed by fine wines, finest wines.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I love NFTs and I love fine wine, so we're going to have a good discussion.
Match.
Yes. Next up, we have Loren Bazin. I know I butchered that. She is a lawyer specialized in IP law. So maybe, Lorraine, you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, Nikita. Do you hear me? Oh, yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Loren Bazaar, and I'm a lawyer specialized in intellectual property. So my expertise covers trademarks, law, copyrights, and unfair competition, and I work for a law firm that is based in Paris.
Thank you for that. Next up, we have Patrice Masini, director and author of over 20 TV documentaries and co-founder of the NFT Factory. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more.
Bonjour. Alors moi, c'est l'exception culturelle, donc je vais vous parler français. Parce que le titre de mon film est en anglais. Et comme je suis de mauvaise foi parce que je suis réalisateur, je vais parler français. Donc moi, j'ai fait le premier documentaire NFT français qui a été minté sur la blockchain. Donc je vais vous parler de ça et je vais vous parler sans doute de ce que ça peut changer dans mon métier et dans ce business-là.
Thank you for that. Sounded really good. And next up, we have Federico Benincasa, a co-founder of Personal NFT, previously CTO for several ad tech companies.
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it English. I could do it in Italian, but I think that would be a bit too much. So my name is Federico Benincasa. I'm very glad to be here. I'm co-founder of Personal NFT. Just to make it very short, what Personal NFT is a specific technology that allows for NFTs not only to have an owner, but also to have a unique viewer. It's really, for those of you who are in the business, it's a DRM, digital right management, for NFTs. So when you own the NFT, you're the only one to have access to the exclusive content it contains. This is, and we'll get to it in more details, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for the introductions. So let's begin with some of the discussion points that we have. So I think the most important point and the highlight of this panel is, are NFTs actually providing exclusivity to brands and protecting IP for these brands?
Everyone is looking at me. Well, I think that the question could be actually divided into two questions. First is the question of exclusivity. I think that, the very aim of NFTs is to provide scarcity and exclusivity to assets in a digital environment. And NFTs enable minters through smart contracts that deploy the NFT in such a way as to limit copies of the underlying assets and to convey and confer value to it. So I think that's the main point on exclusivity. As for the IP protection, well, I believe that NFTs do not provide IP protection as such for brands, and actually NFTs are, in most cases, not to be confused with intellectual property rights. For instance, when a buyer purchases an NFT on an NFT marketplace, what he gets is only the certificate of ownership of the underlying asset, but most of the time he wouldn't have access to the IPRs covering the underlying assets. There is some exceptions to it. Actually, some collectibles such as the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, actually enables purchasers to have the commercial rights over the underlying assets, but I think that's quite an exception in this field. And the second point I would like to raise is that brands are truly incentivized to seek IP protection in relation to NFTs in order to secure their investments and to deter third parties from using their names and logos in the NFT space. And for instance, many luxury brands already filed trademark applications in relation to virtual goods and services, and in relation to the retail of virtual goods such as Nike, L'Oreal, Gucci, and many other brands in order to secure their rights in the metaverse and in relation to NFTs. And the last point I would like to raise is that brands and artists obviously leverage NFTs to monetize their IPRs and intellectual property rights. I think that's a new medium that enable artists to optimize their revenues. And in particular, I think that many artists and brands started to rethink their IP licenses, their existing and future IP licenses that they grant to third parties in order to in particular, include this new medium in IP license, and in order to get some new revenues out of this new medium. That's
okay, yeah. So you made some interesting points there from, I guess, from like a legal standpoint. You mentioned that ownership does not necessarily mean IP rights. They're not the same. What are the main differences? And you did mention that some NFTs are including both ownership and IP rights. What are the main differences between NFTs that only have ownership rights and IP rights?
Do you mean what is the main difference between NFT and IPRs?
Yeah. From ownership to IP rights.
Okay, so you're right. IPRs is a form of ownership, but it's not the classical form of ownership that we may think too. Actually, what are IPRs? That's a good question. IPRs covers, in particular, copyrights, trademarks. What are copyrights? Copyrights are only a bundle of rights that cover like the right to distribute the copyrighted work to the public, the right to display the work to the public, the right to copy the work as much as you want, and to commercialize it to the public. So this is a right with a value, and which so this is the right that is gained by the creator as soon as he creates the work. It's not a right that is registered. And as for trademarks, there are also like exclusive rights in the same manner that copyrights. Trademarks are exclusive rights to use, let's say, a name or a logo in relation to a specific class of goods or services in a specific territory. So that's the definition actually of most IPRs that are used in this field. And these rights are not to be confused with the right, actually the ownership of an NFT with an underlying asset, because what you get with this ownership is only the right to display the NFT and the underlying assets for your personal use most of the time, actually.
Well, thanks for elaborating on that. Benjamin, let's move over to you. So you're producing fine wines on the blockchain, securing it, making it. Do you feel that putting it on the blockchain, i.e. turning it into an NFT, makes it a little more exclusive or adds to the exclusivity of the fine wines?
Yeah, so wine market is a different market of other tangible assets. It's like luxury brands. You have a high buying pressure. It's extremely hard to find products. And often you have to be in direct contact with the winemakers to have access to such products. So with blockchain, we can allow everyone to come on the platform. You have a membership to pay, but you can come on the platform and have direct access to the winemakers. And I would say, like on what Lorraine said, I think if on a daily basis, when we discuss with winemakers, one statistics maybe in the Shanghai Daily, okay, you have 70% of Chateau Lafite circulating in Asia that are counterfeits. So it's a big issue for them, and I think with NFT can benefit, the producers to ensure and to make more confident buyers, which in Asia they lost trust in the market. So it's something very revolutionary, and we will help a lot the wine market in the future.
Do you find that incorporating NFTs into a like a lifestyle brand deviates newcomers from entering the space? Does it scare them when they hear the word NFT? They're like, I don't want to get involved in this because it says NFT, or do you think it's more attractive to them?
Yeah, I would say you will provide them an answer to long-standing problems. They have problems, as I said, with the counterfeiting, forgery of bottles. They have an issue with speculators. Okay, they do not benefit from speculators. You have a bottle of La Romanée Conti, which is probably one of the famous wine estates in the world. One bottle bought directly to the producers could be 1,000 euros. Okay? At the moment you have your bottle, you will resell it on the secondary market for 6,000 euros. It's a big loss for winemakers. They hate speculators. And now we can say to them, okay, come with us and you will enjoy speculators because you will have revenues generated by royalties. We will code directly in our smart contracts.
And traceability as well.
Of course, yeah.
So talking about customer loyalty, maybe Federico or Patrice, you can answer this for me. Does incorporating NFTs actually increase customer loyalty for more traditional companies?
That's actually a very good point. If you let me just digress a second on what was said before, we work with specific type of brands which are artists. We have most of our job is working with artists. And I would like to rebound on something that I've been hearing a lot in the last few days, which I don't completely agree with. NFTs bring ownership. I disagree with the fact that they bring exclusivity. When you buy a real artwork, the exclusive relation you have with the physical artwork is that you are the only one holding it in your hand because there's only one of it. And that makes an exclusive relationship between you and the artwork. Obviously, when you move to the NFT space and to digital art, there's copies of it. So you're saying where the NFT gives you ownership, and in some cases it gates the access to some content, saying you've got an exclusive access to the content, but you do not really have exclusive control of the content. What I'm really saying here is that if you buy an NFT for the exclusive access it gives you to a movie, for example. Most of the platforms, what they do is they will gate your access to the platform. You will, because you have the NFT, be able to download the content and watch it on your browser, which really means downloading it, because you always save it. And then the moment you sell the NFT again on the secondary market, you're saying, well, this is supposed to be exclusive. But the second buyer comes in and says, well, it's exclusive. Of course, I'm the only one having the right to access the content, but you saved it. You could be putting it on YouTube, so it's not exclusive anymore. And this is really where it became interesting to work with the artists, because they're saying, okay, once we go beyond the profile picture, once we go towards some real strong artistic production, how do we guarantee exclusivity? And this brings us back to a very old concept, which is more Web 2 than Web 3, which is the viewership context. The NFTs provide you ownership. What we and others are working on is the idea that there has to be some technology that guarantees that you as a user are the only one enjoying a content at a given time without the ability to saving it. And whenever you sell the NFT, you should have your rights revoked. So this is the real exclusivity in the sense you are just like DRM was in the time.
So you want to restore the exclusivity, actually, which is the aim, I think, pursued by most purchasers of NFTs.
It is. That's why it's interesting. I'm not saying this is all the NFTs. I'm just saying that when you start talking about art NFTs and you talk to an artist which says, I produce content, and this content, I want it to be exclusively given to someone, we are not in a use case that's 100% Web3. I agree with you. But it's going somewhere else. You have to find a solution for those guys. The idea is to build and provide a solution that manages that connected to the NFT. The NFT doesn't really give you the right to it gives you the right of viewing or lending the content. You can lend the content while you own the NFT, but it doesn't provide you per se the exclusivity. There's a level on top. And I'm sorry, back to your original question. Yes, the fact that you own the access to the content because you actually have the exclusive access to the content, at this point, the NFT gains in value when the brands include more content which you're the only one to see. And that you can lend. Your NFT gains value if you have one movie and then because you do something, you have a second movie in the same access, in the same limited access. And that's what we're discovering with brands is there's a lot of ways for them to monetize their content that they already have, making sure that there's an exclusive access of this content to a specific user, which grows the value of the own NFT they have. So it's a strong fidelization element, of course.
Well, what I was curious about was just recently I was at NFT NYC and I met up with an artist there who is very famous and he makes these little figures and he's an actual artist, so he creates like physical figures and he decided to turn it into an NFT. And his figures have been very popular. They're monumental, and they get put up everywhere on streets. And he created a figure that had like a diamond mask, and it was the mask was made out of real diamonds. And a couple of months later, another artist came by and created a very similar figure with also a diamond mask, but the figure was a little bit different. So even though this artist, he had exclusivity for his NFTs, maybe he didn't have the IP rights or something. What was the gap there, and how do artists protect themselves from going through that? Because if his figure was popular, let's say Bored Ape, for example, like they have IP rights, so they are protected from people creating similar Bored Ape clubs. How is this important? Is this a vital step? How can artists protect themselves?
Maybe I just could tell you how we've done it on our platform, and then my understanding of this, and once again, I'm not a lawyer, we worked on lawyers with lawyers on this. When you buy an NFT, you need to limit the cases, in the sense that you have to make sure that the artist signs a contract where it clearly states what rights is giving to whoever is buying it, so that this buyer can do a few things with it. Once the relationship is built between the buyer and the collector, and everybody knows how they behave, like typically, do you have the right to make a T-shirt with it, or do you just have the right to lend it to someone else? Then comes the actual IP issues, which are the same as in the real world, saying that how would that person defend themselves in the same space if they were just talking about the physical figures. But if you do not, if you are, as an artist, if you touch the NFT space without talking to a lawyer and without making sure you understand the whole chain and who can do what with the rights you're giving, then you have nothing to defend yourself with. And I think our lawyer friend here is going to be clearer than me on this.
I agree. I think that the first step is clearly to anticipate the use of NFTs in relation to your copyrighted work or with your trademark content. So the first step would be either to, if it is relevant, to file a trademark applications in relation to the goods you want to exploit through NFTs, to adapt the scope of your license, to make clear that this new medium is included in the scope of your rights, and to, as you said, clearly delineate the scope of license granted to purchasers of NFTs. And what you can do when you are facing the cases that you mentioned, that when minters are not authorized actually to mint and didn't receive the relevant authorization to mint a content into an NFT, I think that the only tools that are available to trademark owners and to copyright owners is to, well, take the relevant steps and watching first the key marketplace to see where are the infringements, and second to, to take actions against the marketplace and to file a complaint that you send to the marketplace to say to the marketplace, okay, so one of my rights have been infringed here, so could you please remove this content from your platform, and could you please provide me with the details of the minter so that I can take the direct actions against the minters. But sometimes it's proved difficult because minters may be hidden behind pseudonyms, and there is case of conflict of laws when he is located in another territory and covered by another jurisdiction. So actually the main difficulty is the enforcement of the rights. But I think that most of a marketplace with reputations, well, they play the game and they do remove actually the infringing content when the complaint is contains the reasons and the relevant proof of trademark titles or copyright rights.
Yeah, so basically, don't take legals on the NFT sites too lightly because they are important. So I guess, Patrice, I want to speak to you a little bit. So let's talk about artists. So you're an artist, you're a director, you're a producer. You come from a more traditional side of content creation. Are NFTs actually a better mode of monetization? Are artists actually making more money through NFTs? And why is it that recently we're seeing all artists, musicians, anybody, Rick Ross, comedians, Kevin Hart, they're all creating NFTs. Are they actually monetizing out of this?
Alors je vais répondre en français, mais j'ai compris la question en anglais.
Okay.
En fait, il y a une grande différence et il y a une question de temporalité. En fait, il y a un truc qui s'appelle le Web 2 où on a l'impression que tout est gratuit. Et on sait tous que quand c'est gratuit, c'est nous qui sommes le produit. Donc aujourd'hui, quand on regarde du contenu, pour vous donner une idée, en moyenne, nous tous, là, aujourd'hui, là, on scrolle en moyenne 150 mètres de contenu sur notre iPhone. Ça fait beaucoup. Donc ça veut dire que tout ça, c'est gratuit, on ne fait pas trop la différence. Bon. Quel est l'enjeu pour mon secteur d'activité à moi, pour le documentaire, pour le long métrage, pour l'enjeu, je pense, des NFT, il est dans le financement des films. Donc il est en amont de la diffusion. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, c'est ça qui va faire la différence. Si je vous raconte une petite histoire, moi j'ai fait ce film sur la première vente aux enchères via la technologie NFT de CryptoArt en France, qui s'est déroulé le 10 mars dernier. J'ai sorti mon film la semaine dernière, le 30 juin, sur une plateforme qui s'appelle BIM, qui est un métaverse vidéo. En fait, vous pouvez trouver du long, du documentaire, qui est une plateforme internationale. Il n'y a pas une journée où je reçois un message où on me dit « Ah, mais il est payant ton film ?» Bah ouais, en fait. Parce qu'en fait, le seul moyen de gagner de l'argent, c'est comme une œuvre, hein, c'est de la commercialiser. Donc, ce que je veux dire par là, c'est que dans l'esprit des gens, c'est absolument, on n'y est pas du tout. On n'y est pas du tout parce que tout est gratuit. Vous pouvez aller voir ce que vous voulez sur YouTube. C'est très difficile même d'enlever. Enfin, moi, j'ai plein de docs que j'ai fait pour la télévision qui sont sur YouTube et ça prend un temps fou pour faire des réclamations, demander, voilà, juste que pour les auteurs que les auteurs soient rémunérés. Donc, je crois qu'on est vraiment à l'aube de quelque chose qui va se passer, qui va arriver. Parce que je pense qu'à un moment donné, évidemment, la majeure partie des gens seront prêts à payer un petit peu pour avoir du contenu un peu plus qualitatif ou de qualité. Et surtout, pour finir, je pense qu'il y a une espèce de direction que les marques vont prendre, et je pense aux marques, aux causes ou aux marques publiques, etc., qui font du brand content traditionnel. Je pense qu'elles vont pouvoir proposer à leurs clients, à leurs cibles, du contenu un peu spécifique, payant, mais en reversant une partie de leurs recettes à un organisme de charité ou à quelque chose qui est positif pour la personne qui achète. Donc ça veut dire que clairement, plutôt que de, si je sais pas, vous donner de l'argent chaque année pour la recherche de la lutte contre le cancer, ben, si vous pourrez, à travers le fait d'avoir des contenus informatifs, vous pourrez faire exactement la même chose. Donc je pense que moi, l'avenir proche que j'entrevois en termes de business model pour les NFT dans mon domaine, c'est celui-là. Voilà.
I have to say, I didn't understand a word of that, but it sounded really interesting. I wish I could respond to it. But if anybody wants to add on to what I said in English, maybe for the English-speaking crowd, please feel free to add on to my question of whether artists are actually monetizing from NFTs, and are they actually making more money than traditional sites?
Maybe something I can share with you guys, which is coming up more and more when we're discussing with artists, but not only with artists, also with the crypto buyer community and the actual collector community, is we're moving to a space where after all the crazy numbers that we've all seen for art NFTs that are really sponsoring projects and this kind of things, it starts to come up with a new type of artwork that the artists are looking into. The fact that you sell an NFT and that NFT has a value, has a monetary value, really depends on a few things. One of them is obviously the community you get, the utilities you get with it, all these things. But when you look at it from an artistic point of view, it starts to grow on them the fact that they have to get involved more and more in the actual life cycle of the artwork. What it really means is that you buy an NFT for, let's say, one ETH, for example. The way the value of the ETH actually grows is because you know that the artist is going to get involved himself into doing stuff that's going to make the value increase. The problem with the current model is that you normally pay once for the NFT, and you kind of expect for the roadmap to be rolled out. And many projects often just use an artist as a pretext to say, oh, look, we work with Mr. Big and famous artist, but the guy doesn't really get anything after the first check. So we're moving to a space where the artists, to sell better on their NFTs, are getting into a kind of a I'll work on the long term type thing, where I will be creating and I will be probably selling you something on top of but you will be getting closer to my experience. So live streams, the NFT itself will be the door, exclusive door, to my live streams, my ticketing, and I'll keep on working on the artwork and those artworks, I think, are going to be the ones that are going to leave a trace, because ultimately it's a new type of artwork. It's not just a picture, it's an experience that the artist takes you to.
So, like, artwork seems to be one of the most popular use cases of NFTs, protecting artists and, putting their work, making it more exclusive. Apart from art, what do you think is one of the best use cases for NFTs out there? And you can't say wine, because we all know that wine is a great use case.
Of course, I will say
but
wine.
what else? I think personally property is a fantastic use case because of title deeds. But what else is actually a use case that will be used and implemented in the real world?
I think, NFTs can answer several problems. First, it's a blockchain. In the spirit of the blockchain, we don't like middlemen. Okay, so in the light of artists, you will cut a middleman, so it's more revenues for them. Of course, you have also additional revenues like royalties. You can pay to the artist. NFT can also solve or monetize buying pressure, as I said in the beginning. So when a lot of people want to get access, if I take the art sphere, art area, you have some very famous artists in United States, like Obe, Shepard Fairey, something like that. You have 10,000 people trying to buy something from him, and it's done in 30 seconds, even sometimes 1 second. So you can monetize this access to say, okay, I will create an exclusive access to some people who booked a Genesis NFT to have access to my collections. This is kind of what we are trying to do with wines. But yeah, I think that tokenization of tangible assets will give a lot of answers to liquidity, to stuff like that. So NFT can be applied like to a lot of industry and businesses.
Patrice, what do you think as an artist? I mean, as a content creator, you probably see a lot of artists in this space. What do you think are the best use cases for NFTs? What use cases do you think are actually going to get mass adoption?
I think for an artist, the best way to win your life is with the royalties. Of course, that's the key of the economic model for an artist. I think now you can control who is buying your art, how many times, and it's very, very important. And you can invest the money of your royalties to the other projects also.
Yeah. So better distribution of revenues, obviously. Yeah.
You know, so I flew in from Dubai, and we were working with a government entity there that was putting a monumental building, was taking chunks of the building and turning it into NFTs. And we were doing the PR for them, and they requested us to take out an article that had a title that said, the most beautiful NFTs in the metaverse. Now, as a PR agency, I went back to them, I said, but what metaverse? Your NFTs are not in a metaverse. They said, no, in the entire metaverse, it's the most beautiful NFTs. I said, I don't think you really understand like the space. NFTs do not mean that they're in the metaverse, and metaverse does not mean that they incorporate NFTs. They're very different things. And then they responded saying, you know, everybody else is launching NFTs. We just want to launch our NFT, so we've hired you. You guys just help us. Now, we've seen a lot of cases like this, but coming from a government entity, it was quite surprising for us. Do you think that a lot of projects are jumping into the NFT space for hype, or do you think that this is good that many people are starting to look into the NFT space? And is it actually more detrimental for projects that don't understand to jump in?
It's for you.
Is it for me? Okay, it's for me. I don't know about the governments, but what I see a lot, I would say 80% of my job right now is meeting people that come with the great NFT ideas, and I'm trying to tell them you do not need an NFT to do whatever it is you want to do. Most of the time, you just need a website, a password, and eventually a ticketing application to make what you're doing, because they have this very central way of doing things, and they think that just saying, oh, it's going to be an NFT, and like there's no need for liquidity, there's no need for a blockchain in what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get the access to whatever it is you're doing. The feeling we're starting to get, I don't know how many of you are in the same, and I'm 100% open to discuss this, is that there's like those three pillars, which is metaverse, cryptocurrency, and NFT, that happen to be in the same sentence for everybody out there, and most of the times they should be treated separately. And I personally hope that one day the NFT will be disconnected to the other two, so we can have like a very simple digital ticket whenever you buy something, which you buy in euros, and then there's a blockchain somewhere that does not include variation in the currency, and you just say, okay, I own this thing, and everybody agrees on it. And because it's really becoming a pain for brands, which really want to go to the, wow, I have this ledger, which is this incredible way to fight against copy, that defends the copyright and everything, but I have to explain to my customers that they have to buy money from Ethereum that they have no idea what it is, even though they can pay in credit card, but then they get Ethers, and then when they want to sell their NFT, they get Ethers back. It brings everybody into a sphere where they're not comfortable. And even though we all understand why those three are connected, mentally for brands today to scale, I think we should keep them separate at least as much as possible. This is what we're trying to do to convince brands to adopt the Web3 pillars I was mentioning.
I think there's still a lot more education that needs to be put out there. I think it's just a lot of people are seeing the hype and seeing the money being made, but they're not really understanding, you know, they want to get in, they don't really understand how. And I agree with you, not every brand should do NFTs. And for that, I think it's very important to consult with, you know, experts like yourself on whether it is the right choice to continue with NFTs or not.
Yeah, and to define the need, as you said, and to define the fundamentals. Actually, yeah, the big question to ask is if really NFT brings a response to a need. Is it responding to a need of a better distribution of revenues? Is this responding to the question of, let's say, to track down infringements? Or to the need to remove intermediaries? I mean, I think if you have the answer to that, maybe it's a good way to dig into the subject.
Exactly, and you know, like for example, counterfeit supply chain is such a big issue when it comes, like in supply chain industry today. So like wine is a great use case for, and it's setting an example for a entire supply chain industry out there that is, you know, you mentioned fake wine coming out of China, fake rice, fake everything, you know. So how do people, you know, I think NFTs is a great tool to track that aspect. But how do we educate people? And how long do you think it's going to take before people actually start saying, I'm only going to buy this particular product when I know it has an NFT, or I can scan it and I know that I can track it on the blockchain?
Just maybe one point, because we have to be honest. So NFT can ensure the authenticity of the bottle or any tangible assets, but only if it remains an NFT. And you don't lose control on the physical object. When the physical object is out of control, it's over. You can try some very good chipset and stuff like that, but there is always a room for joy. So on the wine or on the other aspects, I think to educate people, we need to make it less complex. As of now, when you navigate on the blockchain, you need to be passionate. You know, it's extremely hard to open a wallet, to send the transactions. Don't lose your credential, your mnemonic phrase, your seed phrase. So I mean, we need to make all efforts to go to a softer onboarding of people, of users of the Web 2. They need to come to the Web 3, but we don't have to hurt them, you know. And I think it's the key for tomorrow to try to make it really easy, invisible, and a smoother onboarding of people in the new technology.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we'll definitely, you know, everyone will be on the Web3 technology. It's like I was just telling my friend the other day that it's like, imagine someone told you 10 years ago that you're going to tap your iPhone and you'll be able to pay. You wouldn't even fathom that technology, like, and that's Apple Pay for you. You know, it's like so easy today. It's you know, so I think once it's actually out there, more brands start to use it, more brands start to implement the technology, we'll start seeing more users drive in. But it's interesting that you said to tap into Web 2 before Web 3, because I would have thought to tap into the people that understand NFTs first and then to go to Web 2. So why do you feel that we should tap into people that don't understand NFTs first and then tap into people that understand NFTs?
So could you please rephrase your question?
Yeah, I know that was a bit of a complicated one. So you mentioned that your strategy was to tap into the Web 2 audience first, like to when you're trying to market your brand and get exposure on your brand, you're going to the Web 2 audience. Usually, as a marketing agency, people come to us to tap into the Web 3 audience because they know they will understand it. It'll be easier to get that community in. So I'm curious why you take that approach, because I can see the benefit of it, but I'm just curious for the audience.
That's a very good question. So the first element of the key point is that fine wines is not something for the young generation, you know. So they are not crypto natives, and they need to be, you know, onboarded on the Web3. Another key element is that we do not have an opportunistic view of the NFT. For us, blockchain NFT is a way to accomplish something bigger, you know, to give some authenticity, and we don't want to be focused on the blockchain and NFT. It's a technology. We want to give another user experience, you know, something very where you can have confidence on the secondary market, invest in assets that are usually less liquid, and NFT will bring liquidity to your assets. So it's not about technology, it's about finding answer to long-standing problems.
That's a very interesting point, and I see it as well. There's a lot of degens in this space. I think Gen Z degenerates who maybe are too young for fine wine. But just out of curiosity, how many fine wine lovers do we have in the crowd by a show of hands? Well, congratulations. You guys get a free bottle from Benjamin afterwards. I'm just kidding.
My pleasure.
I put Benjamin on the spot there. We'll talk later about that, Benjamin. So, Federico, what is your take on your user acquisition? Where are your users coming from in the marketplace?
It's interesting because we took, when we started the personal NFT adventure, we also created a pure art marketplace called Wall Burners, where the idea was to try to create digital expressions out of street arts, but physical street arts, not profile pictures designed by street artists, but actually going where the art was painted and capturing this and making it something unique. So the challenge there was, can we create a digital asset which will be interested not only for crypto enthusiasts that already have the habit to buying stuff, but to the real collectors. So we spent time and money trying to create a community among the real collectors. So we met a lot of, especially here in Paris, of street art collectors, people that have incredible collections in their apartment, and trying to bring them on to purchase, saying, okay, it's artists that you like, it's artworks that make sense, it's a new experience, are you ready to invest into it? And most of them kind of said ni, or whatever. And to be transparent with you, what was really stopping this link with time is not really the artists themselves, it's not even the fact that it's digital, because they're ready to go for that. They say, okay, I mean, I've been buying street art, so I could go digital, that's kind of cool. It's just that they have no reference on what actually is a digital art in the future. They are investors in art, they can be speculators, they're not entrepreneurs. And most of the projects that are created right now around this are entrepreneurial projects. There's like an entrepreneur coming to you and saying, hey, I've got this very cool idea, including myself, that what I think is the future of street art. And they're saying, well, I'm just buying art, I'm not investing in your project. And that's where somehow, and when the investing really means getting into a space where whenever they open a newspaper, they say, okay, Bitcoin, okay, went down, oh, there's another scheme, or there was another hack, or oh, they lost 100 million in some, it's something that's extremely scary for them. And when you tell them, well, I'll do the wallet for you, and say, what do you mean? And this whole, the entry point is so complicated that we lost most of those. So right now there's only very few real-life collectors that actually get into the art, even though they like the artists. They're all waiting for some sort of a standard or something that is repeatable in terms of artistic experience. So we're working on this, I guess we all are, but until something generic really works, it's going to be hard to go beyond the crypto enthusiasts on this scene.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the entry point is still a bit complicated for new users to come in. What can we do to simplify it? Is it just a matter of understanding how it's going to work, like you're going to use your phone to pay via Apple Pay, and then when you finally do it, you're like, oh, it's easy? Or do you think it's going to evolve and it's going to get a bit easier?
still me, I'm sorry, I'm getting all the. I think it goes back to what I was hinting before, is that if you're a collector and you say I want to buy an artwork, there's a certain number of things you mentally are ready to do, and going to a digital NFT is okay. But when on the same sentence you also have to adopt a cryptocurrency, and then they talk about metaverse in the same sentence, it becomes this whole like, wow, what am I actually getting into here? Especially if we're asking for real money. Like if you're a crypto enthusiast, chances are your money was made in crypto, so you're used to this. If you go and see a real, quote unquote, real life collector that has a real job and spends his side money on art, it's $1,000 is $1,000. So before they spend it, they want to know what they're getting into, and this is a little bit scary. Honestly, I really hope that the moment those three concepts kind of separate themselves a little bit, at least in the platforms, in the fact that you could just buy in euro without having to pass by the crypto itself, that's probably going to help. Because they want to buy art, they want to buy the artist. And the NFT is an incredible way to get into the digital mind of the artist. There's nothing closer from, if you were creating this NFT, I'm actually getting very close to you by having this, because we have a direct relation, which we don't have in a physical artwork. So they're really hoping that it becomes simple and does not imply all these complexities.
So my final question was actually regarding the future of NFTs, and I was going to ask you guys if you thought NFTs were dead, but clearly not, because you guys are extreme enthusiasts when it comes for the NFT space. But any final thoughts on where do you think the NFT industry is going, and how brands are actually going to start utilizing NFTs? Is it going to be all brands? What is the future of NFTs?
Well, I'll just say that the future of NFTs is very difficult to predict right now. And we see like massive investments in the metaverse and in NFTs uses by brands and artists. But in my opinion, it is still like an insider's market, and it is not really ripe on certain aspects. And as for the metaverse, I think there is like technological improvements that remain to be made. And I also think that there are also many issues to be addressed. And I'm a lawyer, so I can see all the legal concerns that those phenomenon raise, and also all the societal implications, the environmental implications. So I think this is a fascinating subject, and that there are many things to do right now, and undertakings should be like very creative.
Thank you for that. Jonathan, were you going to say something, Benjamin?
Yeah, maybe 3 points. So I will say, first, probably we will need a smart regulation. Could help the industry. Secondly, that's something that may change the NFT world. Could be the dynamic NFT, which could have a big impact for the next years. And third, we need to keep explore the NFT. I think we have seen a lot of use cases right now, but I'm probably sure that a lot of people will have other ideas, and that will bring NFT to another level.
Well, for me, what is very important to understand about NFTs and about crypto art in NFTs is that each time you buy a work of an artist, you support him or her, I mean, of course, but you support him or her directly. And I think art has the power to change the world. So, in a way, you can contribute the fact that you change the world also.
I like that. So, like, whether it's dead or alive, the point is that you're contributing to the good of the artist. You're actually bettering the way that the content creators work and get monetized. So, I like that viewpoint.
Okay, I'll just add one last thing, and that's just my feeling, and once again, that's my view of things. If you imagine an NFT that's a technical NFT, just a basic database ledger generic that costs 1 cent. There's no, I mean, it's a very, very simple way. It's something that can revolutionize commerce as we know it. It's obvious. Once you remove the blockers we were talking about, the fact that there's gas fees, the fact that there's blockchain, that there's cryptocurrencies, all those things, once you remove this, the actual ability to have unique contracts, that is something that you would pay 1 cent to someone, so whatever, resolves so many problems. I guess I'm older than the people in the room, I'm 48, and I was here just before the internet, maybe one of the, and rarely have I seen a technology that can bring so much change. So I think there's no question that that's going to happen. I think the NFTs, in some sort of way, the fact that you have this decentralized and falsifiable ledger with things is definitely the future. Is it going to be the NFTs of today where people fight to buy exclusive? I'm not sure, but there's a bright future absolutely for NFTs. There's no doubt of it. It solves so many practical problems for brands. One, to name it, is counterfeit. Just this kind of thing, exactly what was been saying, that there's no question that someone will, at a certain point, make sure it works. So yeah, the future is absolutely bright. We're still going to go through some bumps in the road, I guess, but the future is bright.
Yeah, I think you guys said it very well to wrap it up. It does not matter whether NFTs are dead or going to continue and how they're going to continue. The point is that they're incredible. It's built on an incredible technology. It's completely revolutionary, and it is benefiting every party. It's a win-win situation for every party that's involved. Thank you so much for your inputs, guys, and please meet our panelists around here if you have any questions for them. It was a pleasure speaking to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.